Hey everyone, what's up? Today we're going to be doing a video on win conditions in SSOU. For those of you that don't know what win conditions are, no, they're unfortunately not Wooloo and Wooper, although look how cute they are. Gotta include them somehow. But anyway, win conditions are basically Pokemon that can use boosting moves, or somehow have their stats boosted, and then proceed to try and win the game or clean out the opponent's team. So for example, let's say the start of the game happens and I get a couple kills. We trade some kills with our breakers, things like Choice Bandit or Shifu, or Conkeldurr, Life Orb Excadrill, or Choice Specs, Choice Bandit Pokemon. Think those. Choice Band Tyranitar. Here, let me make a little list here. Let's go down. Specs Aegislash, Bandit Cinderace, any Conkeldurr with guts, pretty much. A Specs or Hex Dragapult, Life Orb Excadrill, Specs Gengar, any like Choice Band or Guts Heracross. Like Trick Jirachi could help break in a sense. Swords Dance Como is kind of win condition, but it never really cleans, so Specs Curum's a great one. Yup. Marowak Alola is a good breaker. Specs Primarina is a good one. Most of Azores. Choice Band Terrakion, Choice Band Tyranitar, Choice Band Urshifu. Yeah, and the list goes on. And that's just OU Pokemon. Of course, there are plenty of other ones that are viable, like Crawdon as well. So breakers tend to make progress earlier on in the game. But then, let's say you made progress. You got your 2-3 kills, and all of a sudden you want to make sure you close out the game. Generally, you tend to build that game plan around a specific Pokemon cleaning out the opposing team if you're using a balanced or bulky offensive team. These Pokemon are called win conditions. How I would personally define a win condition is something that could use as a setup move in order to give it the necessary boost to break through / sweep the opposing team. However, it's not always this linear. There are bulky win conditions, there are offensive win conditions, there are physical win conditions, there are special win conditions, there are a whole spectrum of win conditions. And sometimes it's not even things using setup moves, but Pokemon that have abilities like Moxie or Soul Heart that give you those boosting powers, or Pokemon with a Choice Scarf and the ability to sweep through teams with the fast speed and the sheer power that it already encompasses. Personally, I'm going to be going through boosting win conditions in this video, and we've brought it down into 3 main categories and then a little extras as well. So the 3 main categories are special win conditions, physical win conditions, and bulky win conditions. And I also have some other examples, most of which fit into the special or physical win condition categories as well. In particular, we have 4 physical and 2 special. But actually 5 physical and 1 special. Yeah, wow. Okay, a lot of physical win conditions in this metagame right now. Maybe Quagsire is going to be on up and up because of that, because it walls most of these Pokemon with Unaware. Shout out Wooper. But anyway, so let's look at these win conditions and examine their place in the metagame and why they might be so good. The first one that I want to discuss is Magearna. It's a new Pokemon in the metagame, and first and foremost, this is not the only set. In fact, this is a bulkier set. A lot of them run... Oh, wait, why is it... Oh, hold the phone. This should be minus... Yeah. So first and foremost, a lot of them are actually running more offensive ones with Flare Cannon and Electro Ball, Ice Beam, Focus Blast, and different items. Sometimes they run on screens with something like Weakness Policy. Sometimes you can see Shuka or Akaberry as well. And there's a whole slew. I mean, let's go through the move pool. You could use Aura Sphere, Energy Ball, Flare Cannon, Focus Blast, a bit more common in those, Ice Beam as well, Electro Ball, Thunderbolt. Yeah, and I mean, you could even go down, you probably find like Flash Cannon somewhere in there. Yeah, so there's a lot of options you could use. But Magearna is just such a great win condition. It's a great defensive typing naturally, which allows it to resist a lot of hits and not get 1 KO'd by non-super effective moves due to its natural bulk. It's great. It has 80 base HP and 115 in both defense stats. But on top of that, it has access to Shift Gear to boost its speed. And on top of that, it also has access to Calm Mind to boost its special attack and special defense. So there's a whole slew of things you could do. There's an infinite number of Magearna sets that are possible, even on the offensive side of the spectrum. And personally, I'd recommend trying them all out, as it's a great addition to the metagame, especially due to the ability sheer Soul Heart. Soul Heart allows it to get +1 special attack every time it gets a kill, and that's just amazing. Yeah, as you see, the Pokemon raises every time another Pokemon faints, so it could even be due to hazard damage, I believe. I don't think that changed this generation. If I'm wrong on that, you could feel free to correct me in the comments, but yeah. So Magearna with Shift Gear is great. This is a set that I personally been trying out with Draining Kiss plus Steward Power. It's really good if you're able to paralyze and knock off Toxapex with Haze, and then you can eventually beat that. And it doesn't really die ever, which is amazing. But there are still a lot more win conditions, in particular more directly offensive ones, like Alakazam. While Alakazam is unfortunately very frail on the physical end, it has the ability Magic Guard, which leaves it to be immune to burn and poison and entry hazards in sand, etc. And that is just amazing, as it gives it so much increased survivability, and it enables a set with Recover in the long haul to help recover off on things like Clefable. The occasional Toxapex, Slowbro, etc. None of them can 2KO you. And you could run Nasty Plot, Psychic, Focus Blast, and Recover. Personally, I run 28 defense EVs to let you live an Earthquake from a Hippowdon and an Aqua Jet from a rare Choice Banded Azumarill. However, there's a whole slew of things you can do. Other possible options are Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam, Grass Knot, even Knockoff for Chansey as well. Honestly, it doesn't always have to knock off not Nasty Plot, but personally I prefer it. And Nasty Plot does let it function as a win condition, as you have the whopping 120 base speed and 135 special attack, which really allows it to be overwhelming to a lot of bulkier cores and pick kills left and right against offensive teams. So yeah, Alakazam is another more directly forceful win condition in my eyes. Now, the epitome of a kind of all or nothing win condition that does incur a certain degree of risk, but has a very high payoff is Volcarona. Sometimes a lot of players like to avoid win conditions like Volcarona, because if you run into something like, say, I don't know, Chansey, then it's going to be a really uphill battle. And in past generations, when it was more reliant on different coverage moves, did things like Heatran, Toxapex, etc., it was even more inconsistent in generations 5, 6, and 7. This generation, there is no Heatran, so that mitigates lack of hidden power, and in addition to that, it has the option on heavy-duty boots, which is huge, as it relies less on support for Defog or Rapid Spin to remove hazards. However, it's still not perfect. There are still flaws to it. And while Volcarona is an amazing Pokemon in this metagame, and it's able to sweep a lot of teams, it does still take some wearing down, some positioning, and an opportunity to get in and set up safely without dying or letting them get in their counterplay potentially at a healthy range. So yeah, Volcarona, a very risky win condition, but it's kind of the essence of a strong offensive win condition. So I hope I outlined that to you guys well. But now let's get into a more breaker-oriented win condition. While Hydreigon could be seen as a great breaker, it also technically fits under the umbrella of a win condition. You might always want to be running plus Speed Nature, by the way, right now, as Urshifu in the metagame is at 322 and right below it. So unfortunately, getting that kill on Clefable at +2 is just going to have to be playing second fiddle right now. You could always get a weak knockoff or a special attack on it to put it in range without forcing it to recover in the game, kind of position yourself well. But yeah, Hydreigon can function as a win condition against bulkier teams. It's amazing, and while it is very easy to revenge kill, it's great at picking kills up one at a time, and that can also lead to winning the game and forcing things in the right time. So yeah, Hydreigon is another great example of a win condition. The last two special win conditions I'm a bit less high on than the first four, but Life Orb Nasty Black Gengar is really good. It's picked up steam later on in the pre-DLC metagame, and runs Thunderbolt from Mandibuzz and Toxapex to get the kill at +2, potentially. And Togekiss offensive set, it can run heavy-duty boots over leftovers if you so please, but either is viable, and I prefer this offensive set, although there are bulkier sets as well with Roost. So yeah, definitely try that out. There are a lot of good special win conditions that are more offensively geared. However, there's also a ton of physical offensive win conditions that are more physically geared. Personally, I just want to note that I'm only listing Urshifu Rapid Strike because I believe that the regular Urshifu, the Dark-type one, is more focused on breaking with Brute Force in sets like Choice Band or even revenge killing with sets like Choice Scarf. However, Urshifu Rapid Strike can't afford turn choice items as well due to the Surging Strikes finding itself resisted by things like Slowbro, Tangrowth, and Amoonguss, which are all new in the metagame, as well as things like Ferrothorn with Iron Barbs, which could be a pain in the ass, and potential Rocky Helmets as well. So yeah, blocking the Choice Band with that isn't great, and Life Orb Recoil does make it even more painful. As we saw in my last live, I ended up going for Surging Strikes into Rocky Helmets countless times, but it's fine. At least it could help break Ghost Cores with like Toxapex or Amoonguss, that with the ability to switch up moves, go for bulk up into Zen Headbutt, etc. So that's really cool, and because of that, I think it rocks a nice bulk up set, and while it's easy to revenge kill due to only having 97 base speed, it's still able to pick up kills kind of in a similar fashion, but more watered down, no pun intended, to Hydreigon. So yeah, Urshifu Rapid Strike is a great win condition. However, the first one I want to showcase, and perhaps the best water type win condition in the current metagame, is Azumarill. Azumarill with 4 HP to make sure it does have the right Belladonna number is amazing. If you didn't check out my last live, I definitely advise checking it out. It just cleaned out numerous teams. And the fact of the matter is that with a +6, Aqua Jet is killing virtually everything with some chip. Hydreigon, Dragapult, and Urshifu Rapid Strike are examples of resists that actually can't even kill you, but with some chip, they're dying to +6 Aqua Jet if you've taken an L-up chip after your Belladrum to where you're in range. In addition to this, +6 Player Off and Knockoff are able to kill potential checks you otherwise, like Slowbro, Amoonguss, Tangrowth, even Skarmory, Corviknight, etc. So yeah, Ferrothorn, it's just amazing what Azumarill can do with Belladrum. It's just the best set on it right now, and arguably one of the best win conditions in the tier at the moment. On top of this, there's also Cinderace, which I personally love with Bulk Up and Libero right now. You can also run High Jump Kick or Low Kick, and I guess you could also run a Workup set with Electro Ball right now. Definitely worth trying out. However, this is personally my favorite physically oriented Cinderace set right now. I definitely wouldn't recommend trying it out. And the last three physically offensive win conditions are They are Bisharp, Hawlucha, and Excadrill. Bisharp is great on hyper offense teams as a basic defog. It gets a Defiant boost of +2, and it could really do well. In addition to a strong Stab knockoff and Iron Head stabs that complement each other quite nicely, it's only really walled by a small handful of things like Hippowdon and Keldeo. I guess Urshifus do pretty well against it, unfortunately, as well, but it's pretty easy to get a chip up on both Urshifus, thankfully. Hawlucha is another example of a physical win condition. While it does need that Sky Attack turned Acrobat Unburden or from Grassy Seed with Rillaboom support, it actually is great with Acrobatics on the Unburden, doing boosted damage, and it got close combat now, so it doesn't have to rely on high jump miss. And of course, Swords Dance is your boost move of choice. It's still going to struggle with things like Whirlwind to Powdon, Physical Defensive Corviknight and Skarmory, Slowbro, and even unaware Pokemon like Quagsire. But it's pretty strong in the current metagame, and I definitely would recommend trying it out on the right, really offensive team. And the last one is a win condition that you see on stand teams in Excadrill with Sandrush. It can, of course, run Life Orb or Rock Slide over Leftovers and Rapid Spin, respectively, but I personally love this set. Why is it Adamant? It shouldn't be Adamant. Never make it Adamant. It always should be Jolly. My bad there. But, yeah, so that's great. Speaking of natures and spreads, I'm not going to go through all these spreads because I'm more trying to highlight win conditions and what they do in the metagame. But if you have questions on these spreads, these sets, why these Pokemon are good, what makes a win condition and what doesn't, let me know in the comment section. I love engaging guys with the comments. Comment. Let me know what you're thinking. I absolutely love interacting with you guys, and it makes this little community that we're building so much more fun for me. Yeah, so that's great. Those are all the physical win conditions that I kind of highlighted here. Now let's get into bulky win conditions before we get into some other examples. Bulky win conditions. Magearna is listed twice here, as not only is it a specially offensive win condition, but it's also a bulky one. Personally, I'm trying to set with Calm Mind plus Iron Defense and Stored Power. I think it's really cool. Similarly to the Shift Gear one with these two moves, I like it with Paralysis support. This one in particular because it's not Shift Gearing up, so it's going to be slower than things. So getting a Paralysis on a Cinderace, for example, could be really cool. After an Iron Defense, you could maybe handle it. But yeah, it's still a bit inconsistent, this set, admittedly. I'm still trying to test it out and work out the kinks, but hopefully Calm Mind and maybe Calm Mind Pain Split Magearna like last generation, even if it was out Z-moves, can come back as well. But yeah, there's a whole spectrum of Magearna sets you could use, ranging from offensive to bulky, and all of them can function as win conditions if you have Calm Mind, Shift Gear, Iron Defense, Stored Power, etc. Those kind of moves. You don't really need Stored Power, by the way. You could run a whole slew of coverage moves as well. Calm Mind Clefable is kind of an unsung hero in this generation. It's a really good set. However, the Teleport set tends to be a bit more common right now due to all of the defensive purposes it can serve. But however, do not let that neglect the viability of Life Orb Clefable, as Life Orb Calm Mind Clefable with Flamethrower and or Thunderbolt is great in this metagame. I personally prefer running physical defensive after running speed for Conkeldurr. However, you can arrange the speed as you wish. Personally, I think that outrunning a Zoom Riddle might actually have some merit right now, so running another 40 speed EVs. However, I gotta check if you live a +6 Aqua Jet after that. So yeah, be sure to check that out. And the last 4 Pokemon, Primarina is the first one. Unfortunately, it's seen so much better days with Amoonguss and Tangrowth and Chansey in the tier. It's a lot worse now. Maybe you could make use of Draining Kiss over Moonblast, but still, it's pretty dicey. But it used to be really good win condition in the prior metagame, and it's probably going to see some sporadic usage now. Just take advantage of things like Toxapex, Slowbro, etc. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Going back to the Magic Card users and shifting away from Fairy types, we have Reuniclus, which can run a Calm Mind set. I personally prefer Life Orb and Thunder. However, Focused Blast, Grass Knot, even Flash Cannon on Shadow Ball, Signal Beam are all viable options as well. And you could use Leftovers over Life Orb. Physical Defensive is the way to go, but yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with the moves, and this is just a great Pokemon in general, underrated. It is, I believe, UU, or I think UU by usage, but it's still a great addition to the OU metagame. It really does well against these bulky cores. In particular, it takes advantage of Chansey, which can only Seismic Toss it. Say you're facing like a team with like Chansey plus Corviknight or Skarmory plus Toxapex or Slowbro, you're just sweeping through that core with ease. So if you're able to take out the offensive Pokemon like Urshifu, which could be potentially banned, or Scarf on a team like that, kind of just trying to pivot that in and get all the kills with it, you can really do well. So yeah, Reuniclus is a great addition to the metagame. And the last 2 bulky win conditions are Snorlax, which can run a Curse set, and Necrozma, which can be an offensive win condition unlike hyper-offensive teams with weakness policy. However, I personally like this bulky set, so we can have ABR showcased in the Smog Finals, which I did record live on my channel, and he won the game with this set, so be sure to check that series out if you're curious about seeing that Pokemon in action. But yeah, Snorlax is a great check to things like Churum on the defensive end, and it's just a good win condition against bulkier teams. Similarly to Reuniclus, it has Rest instead of Magic Guard, though. And the coverage, you can use Darkest Lair or Earthquake. I personally like Heat Crash for Corviknight, Skarmory, and Ferrothorn. But yeah, there's plenty of ways you can go. And Necrozma at last, as I said, it's just a cool bulky win condition. Morning Sun Recovery, Heat Wave plus Psychic gives Psyshock gives great coverage, and it actually packs a punch despite being more defensively oriented. Alright guys, Let's get into some other outlier, kind of miscellaneous win conditions as well. Dragapult, you've seen me use this a lot on hyper-offensive teams, this set in particular. I think it's really good as Fire Blast threatens off Skarmory, Corviknight, and even Magearna now, whereas the Dragon Darts plus Steel Wind coverage, it's pretty much everything else besides, say, Hippowdon and Azumarill. So, yeah, it's a really interesting Pokemon in the metagame, and I definitely would recommend trying it out. You don't even need max speed in it in the right team, because speed types aren't really relied upon. Swords Dance Aegislash is great with Air Balloon for ground types, so it's Earthquake. Yeah, I definitely would recommend trying it out. I like this coverage the most, although you can use Iron Head. And personally, bulky spreads are cool. Offensive spreads are cool as well. It really depends on the team. On hyper offense, I tend to run an offensive spread, but yeah. Shadow Sneak is great. It's able to revenge kill things, or like revenge kill, or prevent like revenge killing of you against things like Dragapult, which is really cool. All right, we also have Cloyster, which you know the drill. King's Rock after Shell Splash with Skill Link. It's just a complete devil. I don't want to entertain it. I don't want to give it any more airtime, so we're just going to ignore that. Yeah, no, it is an option. I'm not ignoring completely, but I'm ignoring using it. I don't like Cloyster very much. It's good on the ladder. It's really frustrating to face, as you guys have seen throughout my videos. But yeah, let's move on. Tracheon is a great breaker and win condition in and of itself. Nothing can really counter to this. Even things like Slowbro and Skarmory struggle to live a +2 stab attack after Stealth Rock especially, so yeah, I think it's really strong. It also has nice base speed, so it's a bit harder to revenge kill without a dedicated Scarf or a Fastmon, which means that some bulky teams are really challenged by it. And the last two Electric type Zeraora, which unfortunately has fell off a lot lately due to the rise of Tangrowth and Amoonguss, and just a stabilization of Hippowdon, meaning it's going to run like Toxic or Grass a lot. So bulk up sets aren't as common anymore, but still viable and good on hyper offense sometimes. And last but not least, we have Throat Spray Toxtricity, which can run Shift Gear, Boom Burst, Overdrive, and Sludge Wave, and it's just doing massive amounts of damage on the special end. Unfortunately, it's walled by Chansey, but it's actually good against a lot of the offensive threats we're seeing in the metagame right now that popped up. So I hope you guys tried that out as well. Alright guys, so these are win conditions that are common in the metagame, as well as Wooloo and Wooper. So let me know what you think of these win conditions. Let me know what you think of this video. Be sure to let me know your favorite win conditions and any other information you want to know about these win conditions in the comments. And maybe suggestions for future videos as well. Why not? And yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this content, be sure, again, to comment, but also to like and subscribe. It means a lot to me. These likes and subscriptions go a long way. And on top of that, I hope you enjoyed and have a great day, guys. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Peace.